Have you ever wondered why many of us are stuck at the same level for years? What does it take to move yourself to the next level? The challenge we all face is what we call the comfort zone. In this video, we shall dive into how we can leave our comfort zone and embrace change for growth. Someone said that the only constant in life is change. We have to move out of that comfort zone environment to be able to grow. An example in my own life, my wife and I found ourselves stuck in a comfort zone in different stages of our lives. But with this comfort came stagnation. In our case, we had many opportunities to go overseas and turned them down because they were going to upset our comfort. Then in 2016, we decided to take this opportunity that came to move overseas, and we took it. It was a tough decision, and we moved to the UK for 1 year. We then retreated back home because our previous comfort zone was calling us back, and that was a big mistake. The frustrations that had made us make the move were there waiting for us, and within a short time, we knew that we should not have retreated. Has this happened to you, where you make a step, go back, and then you think, I think I should not have done this? That's what happened to us. So, lucky for us, we got a second opportunity in 2020, and this was during the pandemic. The pandemic was just starting, and I was working from home, so it didn't matter where I was working from. We relocated. I continued with my job remotely, and because of the pandemic, I could not travel back and forth as much as I would have hoped, and my family was now fully settled in the UK. It was clearly not the best time to make a change, but there's this verse in the Bible that he who waits for the perfect time will never sow. I think it's somewhere in Ecclesiastes, I think chapter 11, one of the early verses. It says that he who observes the wind will not sow, and he who regards the clouds, I think, will not reap. Perfect opportunities to change don't exist. So if you wait for that perfect opportunity for you to make your move, you know that they don't exist. So our move to the UK had its challenges, and below are some of the lessons that I can share from this experience. So lesson number one, and this is something we had learned to apply for a long time, not just when we moved to the UK, was anticipating change. Anticipate change as a way of mitigating risk. What we learned and what we've applied a lot in our life now is projecting current trends into the future. Where we see a possible decline, we start to plan early. Just like everyone else, we used to wait for crisis, and then when the crisis hit, you find that at that point it's too late to make a change. And a lot of us do the same. We wait for the crisis, and then we try to make a change. And obviously, like most of us have experienced, and you will bear me witness, when it's crisis time, the changes you make are very limited because, one, you're very desperate, you're doing things with a lot of urgency, and anything you do, people can actually sense your desperation. And even when it comes to negotiating for something like a new job or a business contract, you don't have much of a negotiating position because you're desperate, and in most cases you'll either miss the opportunity or get a very poor deal in that time of crisis. So anticipation means that we observe, we always look at these pointers that come early. I believe this is God's way of warning us and nudging us to consider change. So you'll always see these pointers which sometimes we ignore. In the workplace, for example, your job may be at risk in the future. You can see mergers, takeovers of companies in the horizon, a shift in your company focus, maybe from your product or service or your department. There's talk in the grapevine from other employees. And we think, this does not affect me because I'm a star employee, I've met my targets, I have high qualifications, I'm an old employee. You feel like you're worth a lot to the organization, and you're sure before it gets to you, it will be a long way. Yes, you're worth a lot, but when it comes to restructuring, sometimes even the people who are worth a lot are the first ones to go. So one day, this letter lands on your desk and boom, you're one of the people being retrenched, and it's always a shock. companies have come up with this nice language of mutual separation and consultation, etc. But basically, you're being fired politely. So what one needs to do is observe. And what I've done is, my wife and I, is we observe the trends. Observe trends in your organization. Start planning ahead. Acquire new qualifications if you need to. Look outside for new opportunities, or look within the same organization if you can move departments. Start planning early, because sometimes you have even a 1 year head start. But if you wait until the last minute, it's going to hit you as a surprise, or it's going to really disorganize you. The same comes to even the location where you live. You might realize that the trends in my country or my location where I am, certain careers are becoming obsolete, and my career is going to be affected. So you need to be able to start looking at retraining. Can I retrain in a new area? Can I venture into a new sector of business if I'm a business person? Because in your area or in your sector, you can see the trends in the marketplace. Probably a new technology has come in, a new way of doing things, and you know that your skill set is going to become obsolete very quickly. So again, you may have a 2 year head start if you observe early enough. So anticipation and observation is very, very key. Another example would be in your relationship. And this is a very sensitive one, because, for example, you're in this marriage where you're 100% reliant on your spouse, and you can see signs that your relationship or your marriage is not going very well and things are not looking very great, and you're working on how to improve or save your marriage, but you need to prepare for the worst. What if you separated? Would you be able to survive on your own? If not, you may need to start getting yourself skilled up or renew your previous qualifications to make yourself employable, or you have a business that you used to do that can sustain you, or a new business that you can venture into. Of course, the caution with this one is that you need to do it with a lot of wisdom, so that it's not obvious that you're preparing for such an eventuality, because it might undermine any other effort you're doing to save that relationship. But again, if your marriage survives and you have acquired this skill, or you started this business, it's just going to be better for you as a family, because it does contribute to your family. So there's no harm in you starting to think of areas where you can grow into, as a worst case scenario for that marriage or that relationship not surviving. And if it does, which we always hope that the marriages will survive, and I've been a defender of marriage. I want them to survive and thrive. But worst case scenario, it's better to hope for the best but prepare for the worst. So that's lesson number 1, anticipation. Lesson number 2 is how to manage the change itself. So one, of course, for us, what we do is we start with prayer. We seek God's guidance. We commit our ways to the Lord, because the Bible says, commit your way to the Lord and He will direct your paths. So prayer is very, very key for those who believe in God and those who have faith in Christ. Second thing is apply wisdom during the planning stage. Again, don't make it too obvious. Plan quietly. A lot of us end up talking too early or disclosing your plans too early when they are not at that stage. So what happens is that people who are not necessarily happy with your progress could sabotage you if you start showing your cards too early. So I advise people to plan quietly. And again, you don't know whether what you're planning is going to work or how quickly it's going to work. So it's better to keep your cards close to your chest, plan quietly, get it to that point where you have everything set up before you can share with family, friends about your plans. So plan quietly. That is a very, very important point when it comes to managing change. Another point when you're managing change is expect some initial setback. This is one thing that creates confusion during the initial stages of change, and we have experienced this ourselves. Things always get a little worse before they get a little better, and this applies in all aspects of life. If you want, for example, to get fit or to lose some weight, you're getting into a diet. Have you ever noticed that your body starts feeling worse before it feels better? And this is the reality of life. That's how we have been designed, that you first get a bit worse before it gets better. So in a change situation, get ready to lose a little in the onset before you start to see progress. Job changes may mean accepting a lower pay in another career, then build yourself up. If it's a business sector that you're changing, you're shifting business sector and you're running a business, expect to see less sales initially as you build up gradually, because you're going to bring the experience you had to this new venture. So there's that initial setback and then you grow. Now people mistake that and jump out of the process, but you should actually stick with it. The other aspect in managing the change, our lesson number 2, is expect criticism. Most people will not understand you or see what you're seeing because it's your journey. This will include even family members, friends, work colleagues, business associates, etc. I mean, they'll be very critical of you, so learn to ignore and to go where the Lord is leading you and your family, because only you know what your journey is, know what your purpose is, know where your heart and life is leading you to. So follow that, because that is your journey. So in a nutshell, do what works for you, because your journey is not my journey. Everyone's journey is unique. God has different paths for each of us. So don't compare yourself with others. Walk your journey. Be the best you can be the best you, and that will take you into success rather than comparing yourself with other people. And lesson number 3 is embrace change. Do not look back. You've heard it said many times, burn those bridges. So if you want to be committed to a new change, you must ensure that all the bridges to retreat are destroyed. A story is told of this general, army general, in a war situation where they had this battle, and this battle they were facing was to take over a certain strategic city. And that city was built on an island. So to get there, you have to go by boat, land on the shores, and then face the armies or the people that were protecting that island city. So the story is told of how this general crosses over with his troops. And when they get to the other side, the general tells his troops to burn every boat that they have crossed with. Burn it down, break it, sink it, everything. And the army are wondering, what does the general want us to do? How are we going to get out of this place? And once they've done all that, the general tells them, now let's go and take this city. And you can bet that these guys took the city, because they had no option. They realized, oops, we have no way of getting out of this place. We cannot run away. We cannot retreat back to our boats. So they were so determined, so focused, and they had to take that city. And that sometimes that's what life calls for. When we make a decision and we go into an opportunity or a business or a new career, burn all those bridges, give it 150%, move forward, and you will have a much higher chance of succeeding than if you keep looking over your shoulder, thinking that, I can go back to what I used to do anytime I want. The moment that thought crosses your mind, it's going to be drawing you back. And in the book of Exodus in the Bible, the main reason I think that God took the Israelites through the Red Sea was because there was no way back to Egypt. Once you've crossed the Red Sea and God had to part the Red Sea, and the water came back, and now you have this sea separating them from Egypt, there was no going back. And this crossed their mind many times if you follow their story when they were in the wilderness. So the bridges are a major hindrance to us moving into the new level because it makes us retreat back. So make sure you burn those bridges. The second time for us, when we moved back to the UK, we knew exactly what to do, and we ensured that we did not have or leave any bridges that would pull us back to where we had been before. So I trust this video has been beneficial to you. If you're facing a change and have been procrastinating, it's time to move forward. Or if you have currently made a change and wondering why things have taken a dive, it's because that is part of the change process, and you will get your balance eventually. So make that change. For those who are waiting, take that opportunity that God has put in front of you. Take it, do your best, ensure God remains at the center of it all. Expect certain setbacks initially, but pressure on, and you will settle it into your new change and you're going to experience success. I hope this has been beneficial, and if you like this kind of content, do subscribe to our channel and also click on the notification bell so that you can be notified every time there's a new video. Also like and share and comment. So God bless you and see you in the next video.